Come, child.
Oh, Mrs. Burnside, I think I know what you want me to do. I'm not a bit sure I want to do it.
Agnes, where is your spine? Here you've been taking my dictation for weeks and you don't get the message of my book. Live, that's the message.
Live?
Yes, life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death. Now, come on, Agnes, live.
Live.
Come, child.
Live.
Live. Live.
Hello, I'm film historian Tony Maeda.
And I'm Brad Shreve, who's just a guy who likes movies.
We discuss movies and television from Hollywood's golden age. We go behind the scenes and share our opinions, too.
And of course, being the average guy, my opinions are the ones that matter.
As does your self-delusion. Welcome to Going Hollywood.
Tony, this is the milestone. I am so excited to be getting started recording our Christmas episode.
Wait, what do you mean? We're not recording our Christmas episode today? No.
Yes, we planned this ahead of time. This is our Christmas episode.
No. Your email clearly said we were going to record the Christmas episode on December 1st. And this is November 31st, Brad. And everybody knows 30 days, half September, April, June, and... My God! It is our Christmas episode! Had to get that in there. That was actually that was Lucy. That wasn't Roz Russell. Roz Russell goes, "Darling, I'm your Auntie Mame."
I love it when we're so off the cuff.
I know, right? Lucy goes, "My God!"
Not rehearsed at all.
If I was really going to do it like Lucy, I'd say, "My God, I'm your Auntie Mame. Vera, give me a scotch." But yes, this is our Christmas episode. Very excited, and the film is indeed Auntie Mame from Warner Brothers in 1958. Very excited about that.
I watched this film for the third time this morning.
Oh, wow.
And let me tell you, I really had to watch it this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you know, I went to Hawaii.
Right.
And I watched Auntie Mame on the flight there.
Uh-huh.
And I realized I bought it like 6 months ago. I watched this film. So anyway, I watched the film on the flight there. And then I watched the film on the flight back. And as you know, one of my souvenirs in Hawaii was COVID. So the past week I have tried to entertain myself, which, as you know, is difficult to do when you're falling asleep every hour.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose to try and entertain myself with things I don't care about, which is reaction videos on YouTube, which I'm surprised to find there are many more good ones than I expected, though there are a lot of bad ones. I don't know if you're familiar with these reaction videos.
I've seen one or two.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I think what would be fun to do if I wanted to take on the nightmare of video editing, but you can forget that right now. So anyway, I was watching reaction videos, and I watched Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Oh, God. I loved Mystery Science Theater.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so I kind of had a Tucker Carlson.
Don't say that.
I kind of had a Forrest Tucker marathon. Because one of the movies I watched was the same year as Auntie Mame, 1958. Mm-hmm. One of the worst movies of all time. They say it ranks up close to Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Really?
The Crawling Eye. Awful.
Wow.
Also known as the Trollenberg Terror. No, it was awful.
Sounds like it.
But I also watched Monster A Go-Go, which I will say I laughed harder than Auntie Mame, though it is certainly not of the same caliber.
Not the same kind of laughs.
No, not the same kind of laughs.
It is.
If you want a good laugh, watch Monster A Go-Go. Mm-hmm. It is priceless. But anyway, so I had to wash my brain again this morning with Auntie Mame.
With Auntie Mame
again. I can't even talk because I'm still sick. Auntie Mame.
That would be Mame, the Anti-Mame.
I will tell you this. I have done very little research.
Okay.
So I can talk about the movie, but most of the historical stuff is on you today.
Well, that's the way usually.
That's your job anyway.
That's my, what do the kids say? That's my thing. Kids don't say that's my thing. That's what they said in my generation. Yeah. No, I'm excited. I think it's funny is that a lot of people, I wonder if a lot of people are surprised that our Christmas movie is Auntie Mame. It's not The Family Stone. It's not A Christmas Story. And some people would be like, Auntie Mame's a Christmas movie? But for me, and for a lot of people out there, it's a spiritual Christmas movie because of the joy. And I've said before, this to me is one of the most joyous films ever made. Now, there is a Christmas scene in Auntie Mame, so it kind of qualifies. But for example, Michael, my friend Michael, it's his Christmas movie. But there's also in Los Angeles, Outfest, which is the wonderful film festival, which kind of sort of in existence, but not really anymore, did an annual, and they're doing it again this year. I'm going to miss it. They do an annual viewing of Auntie Mame at the Egyptian Theater, and it's so wonderful.
Oh, wow.
Because can you imagine, a theater packed full of, yes, mostly gay men, who've already had a couple cocktails. I mean, the minute that film goes up, it's just a riot. So this is a very special movie for me in all those respects, but mostly because it's so joyous. I find it such a joyous film experience.
Well, when you said we should do this for our Christmas episode, I thought it's not really a Christmas episode. And now that I've watched it, I'm like, is it really a Christmas episode? Well, I'll say technically no. But like you said, it's a fun movie, so who gives a shit? It's fun. It's fun and festive, just like Christmas.
The holidays are about joy. For me, this movie is pure 100% joy. And I'm very excited to be talking about it. Now, you said you've seen it 3 times. I obviously have seen it about 3 million times.
Well, I saw it 3 times this week.
This week. Okay. Yeah. I actually watched it again because I think it's important to watch it again. I don't want to go completely on my memory. And one of the wonderful things I love about this movie is, to me, now it's a long movie, but it never feels long to me. I don't know why that is. I just feel like when I'm watching it, we're going on this ride, and I'm going from one thing to the next, and I know very soon she's going to lose all her money, and the next thing you know, she's going to be with Beauregard, and the next thing you know, she's going to be with Mr. O'Bannon. It's just like one joyous ride for me. Next thing, Gloria Upson's going to... I can't tell you how pleased I am to make your acquaintance. She's gonna drop in. To me, it just goes. It flies. So I never think of it as a chore ever to watch this movie. How did you feel watching it these 3 times?
Let me give you the description of this film. I have 2 descriptions of this film. And the one that fits depends on my mood. So let me give you and really, I almost feel them at exactly the same time. In fact, I will tell you, I feel them at exactly the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So my first description of this movie is: Patrick Dennis is a young boy who in 1928, his father dies. His father is a conservative. He leaves Patrick to stay with his eccentric Auntie Mame, and has a banker who is there to make sure that Patrick is raised in a conservative manner.
Mm-hmm.
Auntie Mame abandons the young boy who grows up to be a conservative, and she somehow feels like she has no bearing on this issue, and that's how the story ends. That is my negative take on the story.
Mm-hmm.
My positive take on the story is she is the best thing that ever happened to this kid.
Yes.
He shows up at her doorstep, and she protects him the best she can from the man at the Knickerbocker Bank. And unfortunately, she has to get married, but she is in love. And so he is raised away from her, but she comes back in time to save him from going down the wrong route at the end as well. So she saves him really twice in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she does.
If I look at it in the positive way.
Yes, she does.
I am always bothered by the fact that she did abandon this young man, and I will never look past that. But
when she got married, but he was in boarding school. That's what she said. You'll see each other on holidays and Christmas time, besides which I happen to be in love, she said.
Yeah, but none of the things at the end would have happened had she been there. But anyway, it's forgivable because it's still a hell of a lot of fun. And my God, here's how I love this film. I love this film from the beginning to when Mame ends the fox hunt,
mm-hmm.
and then fast forward to when she visits the Upsons.
Yeah. Such a great scene.
From the Upsons till the end I could just watch that.
But then you miss the wonderful Agnes Gooch. What about the Gooch?
Yes, Peggy Cass.
Throw some furs on the Gooch.
Well, when I was growing up, all I knew her from was Password and maybe Match Game. I never really knew she was an actress.
The incredible Peggy Cass. Yes. I think that's that was the very first time I saw Auntie Mame. I went, she acts? Because basically, she did other things too. She was a theater actress. She got this part. She won a Tony Award for it. She was nominated for an Oscar for the film version. This truly is, talk about, a career-defining role. This really is Peggy Cass's career-defining role. And to tell the truth.
Yes.
It just takes one, ladies and gentlemen. Every actor out there is looking for his Agnes Gooch. That's all you need.
Yep.
And speaking of career-defining roles, Rosalind Russell's career-defining role is too. In Rosalind Russell, just a little bit of background about Russell. Rosalind Russell was one of the biggest stars of classic Hollywood. We're talking from the mid-30s on, and it's in some incredibly wonderful classic films. The Women, His Girl Friday. She's My Sister Eileen. So, but this is Russell's truly her career-defining role. In fact, she got very proprietary about this role. She wanted them to close the play when she was leaving to go do the movie. And they're like, well, no, we can make a lot of money if we get actresses in here. And she agreed to it because she was also a producer. She had some money in this play. So she knew, okay, yes, I have to do this. So Greer Garson came in, a bunch of actresses came in and did it. But she was very proprietary about this role because it really is the career capper for Russell. Everybody, I think when you think of Auntie Mame, you think of Rosalind Russell, don't you?
Oh, I can't imagine not thinking of her. When I think of Rosalind Russell, I think of Auntie Mame, and vice versa. Right.
No, exactly. It's and here's one of the most, to me, tragic. Now, not Judy Garland level tragic, as in injustices, but pretty damn close is the fact that, yes, she was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, and she lost. She lost to Susan Hayward in I Want to Live. Now, have you ever seen I Want to Live? I Want to Live?
I don't think so.
Susan Hayward plays a murderess on death row, Barbara Graham, based on a real person. And Susan Hayward was a wonderful actress. I'm not throwing any shade at Susan Hayward. She gave some wonderful performances. But her performance, when you see it today, is so over the top, is so dramatic. And you look at Russell in Auntie Mame, and her performance, also very theatrical, but timeless. So I feel like, Russell never won a competitive Oscar. She was nominated 4 times. She won a humanitarian Oscar in 1973. But wow, if any actress deserved an Oscar for a performance, it's Auntie Mame. It's mythic now. She's iconic as Mame. And that's really unfortunate that she didn't win for that.
It really is. And the movie you mentioned, what's the other movie?
I Want to Live.
That sounds like good campy fun, is it?
Yeah, it's campy fun because Susan Hayward is so over the top.
Yeah,
it makes her performance in Valley of the Dolls look like she's doing a kitchen sink drama. She's over.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do Susan Hayward. I'm not going to go into I Want to Live. It's a good movie, but in compared with Russell's iconic performance as Mame Dennis, no. Big mistake.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. It sounds like fun, like campy fun, but it doesn't sound like quality material like this film.
No, this is timeless. This is timeless. And as Brad said, Auntie Mame is based on a book by Patrick Dennis, which is a nom de plume. I love saying that. A nom de plume for Edward.
Sounds like a Warner Brothers character.
It does. It sounds like Pepe Le Pew. A nom de plume for Edward Everett Tanner. And he wrote this book in 1955, and it was a sensation. It was a publishing sensation. Although, they thought it would be difficult to dramatize because kind of like Breakfast at Tiffany's, and I'm reaching back to our very first episode when we talked about Breakfast at Tiffany's, the book is episodic, like the play, like the movie. Mm-hmm. There's not a constant through plot. It's episodic. No. It's this happened, and this happened, and then this happened.
It's a series of skits.
It really is. It really is. And blackout skits, by the way. So it was tried by many authors, including Patrick Dennis himself, and they could not crack this nut. It was purchased by producers Robert Fryer and Lawrence Carr. And finally, they brought it to writers Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. Lee, who were also famous for another play at this time, currently running, called Inherit the Wind. And they cracked the nut. They came up with the structure for this story to make it into a viable production, viable play. And they originally wanted Shirley Booth. Do you know who Shirley Booth?
Oh, yes, I know Shirley.
Come back,
Booth.
little Sheba. I have dreamed about my little dog Sheba. I love Shirley Booth, and Shirley Booth was a wonderfully gifted actress. But Fryer and Carr had a friend named Rosalind Russell. And Russell had just won a Tony Award for her for Wonderful Town, which was a Broadway musical. And she was at a real crossroads in her career because she was a big star, as I said, in the 30s and the 40s, but she was getting older and she was facing that, okay, what do I do now? How am I going to support this career? So Wonderful Town came along and kind of gave her a new career as a Broadway actress. She had started on Broadway and she's going back to Broadway as a musical. Wonderful Town's a musical. And so that's why Rosalind Russell got involved in the play. It took her some convincing, but she agreed to do it. And as I said, she was actually a producer of the play. And the play, needless to say, was a tremendous hit. It ran for 639 performances. Russell and Cass were both nominated for Tony Awards. Cass won. And so when it was time to transfer this to film, there was no question, really, at the end of the day, that Russell was going to do it. Although, in order for her to do it, she had to agree to let the play continue. That was another reason why she let the play continue, because that way she could go to Hollywood and do the film role. And also, so did Peggy Cass, who plays Gooch, who won a Tony Award, as I said, repeated her role. And Jan Hanslick, who plays young Patrick, repeated his role too. Now, here's the thing, and I don't know if this struck you, Brad. He's a little too old in the movie to be young Patrick. And this is one of the things I have with the movie. Russell, God bless Russell, she felt loyalty to this young kid. She really wanted him to have this opportunity to repeat his Broadway role. But think about it. When he filmed the role, I mean, when they first did the play, he was three years younger. And he's at that age where now he's on the cusp of adolescence. And
3 years is huge at that age.
It's huge when you're, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And so he's just a little too old in the film, I think, to play Patrick. And one of the very few superior things about the musical movie, Mame, which we're not going to talk about, we'll touch on, but we're not going to do that. No Lucy bashing. We're not going to do it. But one of the superior things about the musical is the young actor playing young Patrick in the musical Mame is the correct age. He's much younger. So you can see why, like when he's making the martini, when he's making the martini for Mr. Babcock, it's just it would be much funnier and much more precocious if it was a younger child making the martini than this pre-pubescent kid. So what do you think about that? Did you get that kind of like icky feeling from him?
Not at all. When they kept referring to the age, I'm like, that kid is way too old based on the ages that they're giving. But I never thought of him in the role as too old in any way. I thought he was great.
Well, I mean, he's
in
not.
Fact, I was like, where I had to look him up because first of all, I was curious if his name is Jan or Jan because I've known both in my life, and I wanted to know where his career took him. With as you probably know, that is the one bit of trivia I have is that he chose to leave acting, became an attorney, I believe it is, something of that nature. But no, I thought he was perfect for the role. I thought he was great.
Well, it's a minor.
I did feel like I was watching the kid on stage. He's a stage actor for sure.
Yeah, well,
but I'm not going to hold that against him.
It's a minor point. It's a minor point. I'm totally nitpicking here. Nitpicking here. I love Corale Browne. I think Corale Browne is brilliant as Vera, but it's kind of hard to top B. Arthur as Vera. I mean, she's, you can see why B. Arthur won a Tony Award for playing Vera in the musical version. She is wonderful. She's magnificent as Vera. So, but I love Corale Browne too. But when you say theatrical, this film is theatrical on purpose. Yes. Russell said when she first went to the set, the soundstage, to see the set of Mame's apartment, she said she fell backwards because it's so big. And Russell believed comedy should be small. Comedy should be intimate. And there's this huge staircase that she actually broke her ankle coming down the first time, because she gallops down those stairs. Russell actually broke her ankle and they had to stop production for a few weeks while it healed. But it's tremendous. But that's the point. The point is that Mame is theatrical. The character is theatrical. So the costumes are theatrical. The sets are theatrical. This film was directed by Morton DaCosta, who also directed the play. He had never directed a film before, and he basically took the play and put it on stage.
Yeah, very clearly.
Even the lighting, the screen doesn't fade to black. All the fades are done with lighting like it was on stage. And that was on purpose. People always ask about that. Why are they doing that kind of theatrical lighting as if it's on stage? Because Mame is on stage. Mame's life is on a stage. And that's the point of it.
And I understood the reasoning for doing that because the rest of the film clearly is theatrical. The exterior sets. Well, actually, no. I was going to say the fox hunt was clearly outdoors, but
yes,
like the mountain climbing, they didn't even try to make it look like.
No.
But I was bothered by that whole lighting scene change because it kept throwing me out of the film.
Interesting.
I'm like, oh, they're trying to. And I was really getting into the story, and then boom, I'm like, oh, they wanted me to think it was a play. And so I understand it. I don't know necessarily that I think it was the right decision, but I don't make movies, so.
Well, it's
didn't ask me.
It's a choice. I can see what DaCosta was doing because as I said, because the characters are so over the top. You kind of have to have a setting that's over the top. It would be difficult to put these over the top characters in a realistic setting, which is one of the many reasons why the musical does not work. It's because you need the theatricality, the support of the theatricality of this character. Think about it. Think about Mame's, the shifts in time are indicated by the change of decor in Mame's apartment.
Yes. I love that.
I mean, it's so funny, but they obviously did not do that on stage. But they do it in the film. The costumes by Ori Kelly, one of the great costume designers in classic Hollywood. That's reflected in his costumes as well, along with Mame's hair color. Mame's hair color did not change throughout the play, maybe once or twice, but Rosalind Russell's hair color changes depending upon what her mood is, depending on what the mode of life is. So it's all this theatricality, which just kind of supports the theatricality of this character.
I'm actually surprised they didn't do the set changes in the play, her new decorations. I didn't think they would be severe, but I thought they would probably do some really quick things.
It would be
to show what they did in the movie because it was great in the film.
I'm sure there are some productions which attempt it, but it would be, this was already the most expensive non-musical ever on Broadway when they put this on here. So, and ironically, people think it's a musical.
Yeah.
When Fryer, Carr, and then Harris were trying to sell the musical, when they decided we want to make this a musical, so they were promoting, they were looking for backers for the musical version of Auntie Mame. People would say to them, "What is this, a remake? Are you doing it again?"
It feels and looks like a musical.
Because it feels like a musical, but it's not.
Absolutely.
No. So I think that's so interesting that everybody thinks it's a musical and it's not a musical. It's designed like a musical. I think because it's so big, because it's so theatrical, because it's so removed. I like the way it is. I understand people's criticisms of the theatricality of it, but I think it fits the film so well. So when they decided to make Mame a film, and it was purchased by Warner Brothers, and they brought 3 cast members from the Broadway. They had, as we said before, Jan Hadslick, Peggy Cass, and Rosalind Russell, 4. And Yuki Shimamoto, who plays Ito, also was in the Broadway production. They didn't bring over the Broadway Vera, though. They were looking for a Vera, and I had a question for you. One of your favorite gals screen tested for the role of Vera Charles in this film, and she obviously didn't get it. Do you want to, I know it's way out there, but do you want to hazard a guess as to who that possibly could have been?
Well, see, I don't know if you're saying one of my favorite gals in a sarcastic tone or a real tone.
No, you like her. You like her a lot. So do I. I love her too.
I'm just going to toss it out there, and it's probably not. It doesn't even fit. That's the only person that comes to mind is Audrey. And she's way too young.
Audrey
way
Hepburn?
too young, yeah.
Way too young.
So I can't think of anybody.
No, how about here's a little clue for you. She has a Lucy connection.
Vivian?
Yeah.
Vivian Vance.
Yes,
Oh,
Vivian
that should have
Vance.
been great.
Vivian Vance tested for the role of Vera, but isn't it kind of weird? Vivian Vance tested for the role of Vera in Auntie Mame, and then Lucy plays Mame in the musical version. But that's not the only connection that Lucy has to Auntie Mame. This is interesting too. So at the wrap party of the film, there was a visitor on the set. One visitor came to the set. I'm sure there were a lot, but one visitor in particular was at the set. It was notably conspicuous on the set. And who do you suppose that was?
I'm going to guess Lucille Ball.
It was Lucille Ball. And she, at the wrap party, she allegedly went up to Roz and said, Roz, you're the only person I've ever been jealous of in my life. If there is one part I would give my soul to do, it's this one. A little shading there of misfortunes to come.
Yeah, she kind of did give her soul, but we won't go there.
We won't go there. We won't go there. We won't go there at all. Brad, I want to stop for just a minute. And I want to wish our fabulous listeners a wonderful holiday. And I want to thank them for listening this past year to our first season of Going Hollywood.
Me too. I'm right with you there, Tony. And I want to remind the listener that during our hiatus, we will still be posting in our social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram. If I add any others, you can find out. Follow us on goinghollywoodpodcast.com, and you'll stay up to date on what's going on. And they'll know when something else is happening, won't they, Tony?
Yeah. And they can also go back and re-listen to one of our 30-plus episodes that we recorded our first year. I know I do that a lot.
I'm sure you do. In fact, I know you do. Because you like to give the little critiques, which are good. But in the meantime, keep your eyes open for the announcement of Going Hollywood Season 2, which is coming in March.
And that's going to be the best Christmas present of all. So happy holidays, everyone.
God bless us, everyone.
I can't believe you did that. So I want to talk a little bit about how the film came about, obviously, based on the play. The screenplay of Auntie Mame was by Betty Comden and Adolph Green, not Lawrence and Lee. And they added some additional scenes, most of which ended up being cut. So it's like, okay, well, why'd you have them in the first place? But, they wanted to adapt. They wanted to put their stamp on it. One of the, primarily during the job hunting portion of the film, when Mame loses all her money and she goes to do all these jobs, one of which is the iconic switchboard scene with Whitcomb, Gutterman, Applewhite, Biberman, and Black.
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I said it.
You did very well. I sat there in awe watching that scene.
That is a genius scene. It points to what one of Russell's great talents was, and that's language. We talked about this with Maggie Smith and how Maggie Smith could caress language and milk laughs out of syllables, out of single words and syllables. The same thing with Russell. Russell has that same talent. Russell's voice goes up and down on the register if she wants to emphasize a comic moment. And that's what's so genius about Rosalind Russell. When you think about it, some of her most iconic films, like The Women and certainly His Girl Friday, she's very verbal. She's very fast. So that's a wonderful thing. One of Russell's great gifts and one of the funniest things is that whole switchboards, which is Whitcomb, Gutterman, Applewhite, Biberman, and Black. I did it twice. And she calls him Mr. Bib. I just love that. So anyway, one of the scenes that was cut was she was a door-to-door salesman, and she was selling pressure cookers, which would have been a very funny scene. But you can imagine the pressure cooker exploded, and she was gone. But they realized they didn't need this, so they just kept the two that were in the play, which is the switchboard, and also where she ends up at Macy's selling roller skates. Where is the roller skate lady?
Well, okay, so let me take a guess here as far as scenes that were added in the film, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I'm kind of assuming all the stuff away with Forrest Tucker were added to the film. They happened off stage.
No, that was in the play.
Oh,
that was it. That was in the play. But, the brilliant thing was obviously the whole fox hunt when she's on the horse. All the characters come forward. It's like the Ascot Gavotte scene in My Fair Lady. Obviously the fox hunt is happening out in the audience, and you just have the characters, and they do this in the play, another theatrical thing. They all come forward to the proscenium, if you will, and we get that play-by-play about what's happening. Mother Jefferson Davis, she's passing the fox. So that's a total leftover from the play. So yeah, they opened it out in the film, but that poor fox. Fox is a corpse. That fox is dead. You watch Patrick holding it. That fox does not move. So it's this, and they get rid of it as quickly as they can because it's obviously this really, really bad stuffed animal, which I love. Obviously, in the film, they had, or maybe not obviously, but in the film, they had to soften down some of the language. Now, even though they softened down some of the language that was on the play, there's still, did you notice there's still a lot of swearing? For a Code era film, there's a lot of swearing in Auntie Mame. Did you notice that?
I noticed there is a lot of swearing, and I noticed there is a lot of not subtle at all innuendo, and some blatant things that I thought, wow, for 1958, this is a lot, and something tells me that the book and the play had even more.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is what they did, okay? I think they're so smart, and this is what they did. The most famous one is Mame's tagline. The Auntie Mame's motto is, life's a banquet, and most poor sons of bitches are starving to death. Well, they couldn't say sons of bitches in 1958. So they softened it to, and most poor suckers are starving to death, which I actually like better than sons of bitches.
I like it better, too.
I think Sons of Bitches is too harsh.
Yeah.
And naturally, when they made the musical, Lucy says, most poor sons of bitches are starving to death. And it just isn't as elegant. There's an elegant. So I think by changing that, they allowed these other things to come through the script. And it always seems to be Vera. Vera's the one. What the hell have you got back there? Reindeer? It's so funny. Get rid of those damn cowbells. So I was really struck by that. I was really struck at how much swearing there was for this film in 1958.
Well, and I must ask, because every time I watch this film, I wonder if in the book or the play, when Patrick is going over his list of words that he heard, when he says heterosexual, does he say homosexual in the play?
No, he says heterosexual.
Because heterosexual works, because it's still like a sexual.
He says heterosexual, but I believe, yes, he does say heterosexual in the play. But you know what else is in that party scene, which always makes me laugh? Do you see the lesbians? Do you see the two older women who were dressed in men's suits?
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, I'm sure just like me, I immediately thought of Breakfast at Tiffany's. Because very similar type of artsy, avant-garde, crazy group of people there. And yes, I did notice the lesbians. I loved that scene.
It's great. Well, there's a lot of real life people represented in that scene. There's a scene where Mame talks about a conductor. He has real sheep motif, live airplanes on this when he's conducting a symphony, and that was based on a real life Soviet composer named, and I hope I get this right, Arseny Avaramov. And this, he was a Soviet composer who staged a 25th anniversary celebration of the October Revolution. And on stage, he included flotillas, cannons, locomotives, hydroplanes, factory sirens, bells, foghorns, and a brass band. So a lot of those people in that party scene are based on real people. She says, Edna, where have you been? Or Edna, and it's Edna Ferber. So this is one of the fun things that Lawrence and Lee and later Comden and Green left in the film, are these real life allusions or call outs, which you realize Mame is a very, she's a socialite. So she's got some high class friends, who all disappear once the Depression happens. And also the play that she and Vera did when they were trooping, Chuchin Girl, was a real play. And that whole thing, if you were standing in front of me, I would have kicked you in the Vera.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Whoa. Do you think if that was written today and done today, that they would have gotten away with having the children and the teachers all naked together?
Well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. I mean, what a lot of this stuff, you know,
it's perfect for the film.
That's straight out of Patrick Dennis's book. In fact, when they're playing fish families, and when I read Auntie Mame, I must have been 12 or 13 when I first read the film Auntie Mame. And to me, the most scandalous thing, and obviously this did not make it into the play or the movie, is not only that when they're playing fish families, they're also calling out, spread the sperm. And whenever I think...
It wasn't necessary.
No, and whenever I think of the book, Auntie Mame, I think of spread the sperm. It wasn't needed. I mean, just you get all that from Rosalind Russell's reactions, and just from we were playing fish families, and we did what gentlemen fish do. Well, that
was perfect.
That spread the sperm.
I filled in the blanks.
Yes, you did. All right, I want to talk about one of your favorite characters. I think one of everybody's favorite characters, besides Gooch and besides Mame. Do you know who it is I want to talk about?
Gloria.
I can't tell you how pleased I am to make her acquaintance, Brad.
I adore her.
Isn't that a great characterization?
Oh my Lord, I love her.
So Joanna Barnes, who brilliantly plays Gloria Upson, she didn't speak like that in real life. Let's hope not. She said that she got the inspiration when she was a kid. Her whole family would say, talk like you have a hot potato in your mouth. So imagine if you have a hot potato in your mouth and you're talking like this. That's where she got the characterization. And that characterization is mythic. I mean, she also did a character like that in The Parent Trap. She was in the film The Parent Trap, and she did a similar character of that talking with a hot potato in your mouth. But that's become so iconic that people don't realize, kind of like Jane Hudson, Baby Jane, Joanna Barnes created that. And it was so genius that it's become kind of like one of these characters that everybody imitates. I mean, you see drag queens doing Gloria Upson all the time. Books are so decorative. We have a place in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, it's just, and of course, the Upsons, the parents, it ups and downs. I know, there's no sugar in a Claude Upson daiquiri. I mean, these characters are so funny, and it's one of the reasons why this film brings me such a joy, because of course they all get their comeuppance in the end via Mame, but they're just so delightfully insane, and they make this film a delight to watch.
I love this film, but I am always getting tired at a certain point, and then the Upsons show up, and I am full of energy. I'm lighting up, and I'm loving every second from that point forward. It's wonderful. I love them. I love her. I'm sure everybody's experienced somebody telling a story that just goes nowhere. And the ping pong, and we stopped on the ping pong ball.
Well, it was ghastly. Well, it was just ghastly. Makes a good story, though. And the closet was locked. It is such an incredibly funny scene. And she plays it so well. You could practically write a book about what happened to me. Which you can say, Mrs. Burnside, you could practically write a book about what happened to me. It's just a genius moment. It's a perfect, to me, it's almost a perfect film. And the way these things wrap up at the end, and of course you have the end with Patrick's son now being let off by Auntie Mame. She's the Pied Piper. It's true. It's such a wonderful. I get chills talking about it. It's such a wonderful, warm, happy film, and this is why it's my Christmas movie of choice.
It's a good choice, and I will say that at the end when Patrick's son goes off with her, I'm like, there's her redemption. She's going to treat.
Yes.
I'm going to call her. I'm going to say her grandson, because that's basically what he is.
It is.
She's going to treat her grandson the way I would have liked her to spend all that time with Patrick, and make sure he doesn't go down that wrong, snooty road.
Exactly. She gets him with married off to a girl with braces on her brains, an Aryan from Darien. But it is such a heartwarming story about this boy who could have had a very quiet, sad life, and she opened doors for him. Doors you never dreamed existed. So it was a tremendous hit obviously. Do you want to talk a little bit about how this movie performed when it was released? No? I'll tell you how it was performed.
I was not feeling well. I had very little.
You have a COVID excuse.
What I looked up, I barely remember. I will say this.
All right, well, okay.
I will say this.
Yes.
Monster A Go-Go got 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, whereas Auntie Mame got 93% audience score, 88%.
Well, there you go. Well, that's high praise indeed, I think. So Auntie Mame was a tremendous success. It was nominated for 6 Oscars, including film, actress, as we said, supporting actress, art direction, cinematography, color, and editing. It did not win a single Oscar, which is another huge, huge travesty. As far as I'm concerned, Academy, you got a lot to make up for that. I'm telling you right now. But here is the victory. It was the second highest grossing film of 1958, right behind South Pacific. It made $8 million on a budget of $2.2 million. So $8 million is about $86 million today. So that's a tremendous hit. It obviously revitalized Rosalind Russell's film career. So much so that, okay, this is kind of a funny story. So I think besides Auntie Mame, Russell's probably also best known for her later career for playing Rose in Gypsy, which many tried and true theater people think is a travesty that Ethel Merman was not able to recreate her Broadway role. Yes. Well, the reason that Rosalind Russell did that was because Rosalind's husband, Frederick Brisson, was Rosalind Russell's husband's name. He was a producer. He was also known as, Russell called him the Wizard of Roz, because he would get these properties for her. But he was also known in theatrical circles, primarily by Ethel Merman, as the Lizard of Roz, because he was the one behind Russell filming these movies that other actresses had made famous on stage, like Gypsy. She also did a movie called A Majority of One, which was done by an actress named Gertrude Berg. And Russell did the film version. So Russell had her paws on these films. She kind of gets a bad rap for that. I personally love her in Gypsy. I think she's wonderful in Gypsy. Yes, it would have been great to have Merman, but there you go. But of course, that leads us to one of the biggest injustices of all. If we're on this about theater actresses not being able to recreate their roles on film, it happened all the time. Julie Andrews with My Fair Lady. The most tragic of all, Angela Lansbury and Mame. So we need to talk a little bit about what happened after Auntie Mame, and I'm not going to go in depth into it, but I think it's kind of interesting, and how Lucy got this part, which, by the way, according to Russell in her autobiography, Friar Carr and now Harris had joined them. They were now Friar Carr and Harris, produced the musical version, came to her first to do the musical version of Mame, after she'd already done Auntie Mame. And according to Russell, Russell's like, no, thank you, been there, done that, moving on. But I've never read that anywhere else. And secondly, Russell also claimed in her autobiography that she co-wrote the play Auntie Mame. She did. She claimed. But she was a writer, though. Russell was a writer. That's one of the really interesting things about Rosalind Russell.
Oh, really?
When she wrote screenplays under a pseudonym, and the pseudonym was C.A. McKnight. And she wrote 2 screenplays, so she could write, but she did not. She might have added to Auntie Mame, but she did not, she didn't write half of the book, half of the play. So anyway, because when the time came, the musical Mame, starring Angela Lansbury, opened in 1966 and was a tremendous success. It was, again, huge, like Hello, Dolly. I mean, this is one of these great lady roles, like Rose and Gypsy, like Dolly Levi and Hello, Dolly. Mame's right up there. So Mame was a tremendous success. Yeah. Angela Lansbury became a Broadway legend for her performance as Mame. And it's a wonderful musical, wonderful songs. But when it came time to make it as a film, we were back to the same problem. Angela Lansbury was not a name. They wanted a name. And Lucy, clearly, as we said before, Lucy had her sights on this role since 1958. And in Lucy's mind, it was going to be her crowning achievement as an actress, was to make this musical version of this part. Have you ever seen the musical Mame, Brad?
Yes, long ago. and not long ago enough.
Well, it's so sad because, yes, she was about 20 years too old for the part. But besides that, that's not what the problem is. The problem with Lucy in Mame is that it's not, the character and the persona do not mix. Lucy was a clown.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy was a baggy-pantsed clown. Mame is a grande dame. Mame is Rosalind Russell. You know, Rosalind Russell could do baggy pants comedy, but there's a sophistication with Rosalind Russell, which is just part of her. Lucy doesn't have that.
No, I clearly remember it just did not work.
People think, oh, Lucy, perfect, funny. She'd be great in Mame. Well, it's a different kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Lucy tries to be grand and tries to be sophisticated, it just doesn't come off. The best parts in the film Mame, the film musical Mame, are the parts where she can clown. You know, when she's on the roller skates and she's kind of one foot kind of rolling down. She gets out of control on the roller skates. She's doing Lucy stuff. That's when Mame works. And interestingly, nobody had the balls at this point in Lucille Ball's career to tell her this is not right for you.
Yeah.
Except Desi Arnaz. Desi Arnaz was the only one who said, honey, this is not right for you. Don't do this. She didn't listen to him. And yeah, it was a disaster. Lucy never really got over it. It was a huge public failure. So that's so sad because the musical is wonderful. You know, they've always talking about redoing the musical. Cher was talking about doing it at one point. Barbara Streisand was talking about doing it at one point. It would be wonderful to see somebody actually do it. But, you know, you also have the cast recording to listen to. And you have the ultimate version of it with Roz Russell and Auntie Mame.
Well, if Bedknobs and Broomsticks had done better, Angela Lansbury would have been more of a household name rather than a stage name, and she therefore could have been.
Yeah, you know, I love Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh, what a fun movie. And thank God she did it because you get to see her there. She's preserved on film singing.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a glorious singing voice, by the way. I mean, it was a natural singing voice. So yeah, it's one of the saddest things. But you know what? Murder, She Wrote ran 20 gazillion years. So. And
I still love her in the original Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, and she was a brilliant actress. I mean, Dame Angela Lansbury had the last word, I think, with that career. But another great dame, Rosalind Russell. The part is hers. The part will always be hers as far as I'm concerned. And it's just such a wonderful, joyous experience. Is there anything else we want to say about our Christmas episode, Brad, about Auntie Mame?
No, I think that I think you picked well. In fact, I know you picked well because I'm sitting here, I was beating my brains in, trying to think of, okay, what are we going to do? And all the traditional ones were coming to my head. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do those. You know, we see them every year, or they're talked to death. And this was perfect. Yeah,
I think so. And I just, you know, for anybody who's like, really, Auntie Mame, I tell you what, if you haven't seen it in a while, it's the Christmas season, go put it on. Go stream it. And it's available everywhere. I think it's even on YouTube. I didn't say that, but I think it's even on YouTube. Go watch it. I guarantee you, you will have the most joy. You will have the true meaning of this holiday. You will have a joyous experience.
The holidays are for smiling, and this movie will make you smile.
Yes, it will. It will. And you can't get a better testimonial than that, Brad. So, you know, our Christmas episode is over, and I think we got to say it, but I don't want to say it, Brad. So let's not say goodbye. Let's say happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
We'll see you soon. Take care.
But darling, I'm your Auntie Mame.
This boy I see already, the fire, dust, and air.
Well, we'll just add water and stir.
Is the English lady sick, Auntie Mame?
Oh, she's not English, darling. She's from Pittsburgh.
She sounded English.
Well, when you're from Pittsburgh, you have to do something.
The school we must choose must be exclusive and restricted.
Exclusively what and restricted to whom?
I can't tell you how pleased I am to make your acquaintance.
What the hell have you got back there, reindeer?
Of course, it's completely restricted.
I'll get a blood test.
Oh, Mame, sugar. I'm just going to hold my breath until dawn tomorrow.
Do that, honey. There now. Are we all lit?